missed my sister. She's Dr. Barewa. So I'm going to allow her to introduce herself, tell us more about yourself and things you've done. Okay, Dr. Barewa, floor is open.
All right. Good morning from Los Angeles, everyone. Good afternoon in the UK and in Nigeria. Maybe even good evening, wherever it is that you are. And yes, my name is Badewa Adejugbe Williams. I like to say my name in full. I am a mother of three wonderful children, two of them with exceptional needs, with special needs. They are absolutely the light of my life. And I really mean that 1,000%. Journey hasn't been, smooth, but it's been quite worth it. And I'm at a point now where I am relaxed. I am an educational therapist by profession. I did not start out as an educational therapist. I started out as an actress, director, producer, both stage and film in Los Angeles. After I had my set of twins, Layo and Dayo, with special needs, I had to make a career change. So I'll get into that as we proceed with the presentation. There were set questions that were forwarded to me. So I like to present my slides and just talk so I don't talk too much, so I can get everything in, based on what's on the slide. I'll tell you how my journey started and to where I am today. I'm a professional. I do many things. Besides being an educational therapist, I'm actually back in the classroom teaching a third through fifth grade special education classroom for people with different disabilities, from specific learning disability to autism, autism with specific learning disability, to people with emotional disorders. And I have, just deaf and hard of hearing. I have everything in my classroom and I have to make it work. And dealing with that and dealing with mine and also coordinating the Nigerian Diaspora Investment Summit is very tasking. So I have to manage, I have to juggle it. So I hope my insight into my experience will help some people today during this hour that we're discussing. So on that note, I would like to share my screen so I can take you through my history. I hope you can all see my screen now.
Yeah, I can see it here.
All right, so the title is Achieving Career Success. Okay, that is important. You have to be successful at whatever you do, in your career, in your marriage, all right, in your family. Otherwise, you get burnt out. Otherwise, you get discouraged. Otherwise, you take it out on your children, which is what we don't want to happen. So how do we navigate the challenges of caring for a special needs child? In my case, I have two. How do we navigate that and find a balance with ourselves? It's not rocket science. It's not easy, but it's doable. All right. So how did my journey start? I'll start with my introduction. I'll talk about emotional and mental health, finding balance and support system, and then financial considerations as you also consider education and childcare. Taking care of yourself because you're the engine. If the engine is not oiled and tuned, if the car is not tuned up, if it's not serviced, it's going to die, right? So you got to do the same thing for yourself. You don't want to get burdened. You don't even want to make it seem as if your children are burdened on you. You have to take care of yourself personally, and you have to also have a way of growing within yourself and with your career. The more you achieve, the better your home base is, the better your financial situation is, and the better you are able to take care of your children. What advice do I have to other parents? What I can offer you are the strategies that have been known to help balance professional growth and family needs. This is nothing new. These are things that we already know. I'll just tell you how I implement this into my own life. And what do we do for raising awareness, sharing ideas, and I'll take your questions and answers. How did it start? My wonderful, wonderful children. You can see them. When they were born, they were the most unusual looking twins at the hospital. They were born in Beverly Hills, California. The news wanted to come and do a story on us. They say they've seen the most unusual twins ever. One has got blondish hair, very shiny golden hair, very light skinned, like a white baby. The other one is a black baby with black hair. They wanted to do a story. I was like, no, I don't want any story of my children. No. So just leave us in peace. So this is how it started. When I was pregnant, I did everything that I felt like I needed to do to have perfect, if not perfect, but as close to perfect and healthy as possible. Why did I do that? Because there was already history of children with developmental disabilities in my family. Two of my sisters have children with developmental disabilities. Unfortunately, the others, the other three did not. My brothers did not. But I always felt like I needed to be careful, especially living in America. I felt like I had to eat the perfect food. I ate organic meals. I did not eat any chemicals. I did not eat anything that was processed. I exercised every single day. I played music to my tummy, classical music, because apparently classical music supposedly helps with children's intellect. So I did all that. And at that time, I was directing a movie. I was always on the go. I had a full-time care provider, full-time nanny, living nanny, but my children had the oddest hours. One would sleep while the other one was wide awake. As soon as the other one goes to sleep, the other one wakes up. My nannies were just coming through my door like revolving door. They were not lasting. They would work for 2 months, like we can't take it anymore. In me, I was always very busy. So I said, okay, fine. I finally, by the time they turned two, I went to Nigeria. I had to actually stop working so I could focus on my kids. I now took them to Nigeria thinking, okay, when they're in Nigeria, I can go back to my career. And I would go and visit. But I started noticing they were not speaking. 2, 3, 4, they were not speaking. And I was very, very worried at that time because to me, that was an indicator that maybe they would have speech impediment and have developmental disability like my nieces. So I spoke to their pediatrician. The pediatrician says, don't worry, it takes twins longer to talk. My mother-in-law said, don't worry, their father didn't start talking until he was 6 years old. But as a mother, we are blessed with instincts. So you know right away.
Yeah.
So I decided that, wait a minute, this is not right. I had to do something. I had to intervene. So after their dad passed, I brought them back to the US. And we started everything right away. I put them in school. At school, the teachers will be calling me, come and pick up your children. They will not sit still. They're like climbing the fence. They're jumping all over the place. They won't learn. They can't write. They can't talk. They can't do this. I was like, but this is America. I put them in school. Why can't you help them? They're like, no, you need professional help. So my journey started. Neurologists, pediatrician, behaviorist, psychologist, psychiatrist. I started seeing everybody about my children. Fortunately, they were diagnosed officially for having developmental disabilities. And in America, you have to give them education. So they have to be given education in the least restrictive environment, which is in a special education classroom. They were receiving services that they needed, speech therapy. They were receiving physiotherapy. And I had all the support system in place. But at the same time, as a mother, you want the best for your children. You want to keep teaching your children, especially when you know that there's some intellectual beams in there. So I started taking classes as to how I could best help my children. So that was how my journey as an educational therapist started. I went back to school and started all over to study the psychology of education, to study developmental milestones, to study strategies for intervention, to study how to help my children. And in so doing, I went into the classroom. And that was how I became a teacher. So that was the start of my journey in special education and as an educational therapist. So the question was, how did having a special needs child impact your mental and socio-emotional well-being, both as a parent and as a professional? First of all, challenges in parenting. That was number one. You know, in Nigeria now, if you tell your child to do something and your child doesn't do it, you go and get your belt. So that was number one. How do I discipline these children? How do I force them to write? Are they lazy? What can I do? So I had that challenge. What I now realized worked for my kids was a lot of love, a lot of understanding. I had to really understand what disability is. I had to feel and put myself in their shoes. I had to realize that it is not their fault. So they should not never be spanked for something that is not their fault, for something they can never control. I can only love and make them feel comfortable, make them have that high self-esteem, knowing that my mother will always be there to protect me. And they do know that, they do feel that. So instead of feeling fear and afraid, they feel love and they feel accepted. So that was the aspect for the challenges in parenting, because the emotional and physical demands of caregiving is very, very high. If it's for any parents at all, especially in this day and age. So the better you manage yourself, your emotions, and the physical demands on you, the better parents you are going to be. And that is what this presentation is about today. And then for professional and career aspirations, I had a desire to become the first Nigerian to win the Academy Award for acting when I moved to Hollywood. I had the desire to be the best director ever. But all that changed because of my children. But that was just because, for me, having the ability to fix it. So that was why I went back to school. I'm not saying everybody should change their career, but I changed mine. You know, Nigerians were very resilient. No matter what profession we're in, we try and we aspire to be the best. So within the field of education and special education, I aspired to grow beyond bounds, to do the best, learn the best, be the best that I can. Praising myself, I'm not singing my own praises, but from feedback from parents since I started in education, from feedback from students who had been in my class from years ago, I am glad that I was able to make an impact, that I'm glad to be able to grow. The other thing we need to deal with is the potential stigma or misunderstanding in the workplace. How do we manage taking time off of work and having our supervisor, our boss be understanding? I had to deal with that. Fortunately, in America, I did not have to deal with that because, as I said, I went into education. And in education, there's already that understanding that when you have a child with special needs, you need to be there. You need to be available for your children. But the stigma, a lot of us worry about stigma. How will society perceive us? Like when we go to the doctors and my children are like running hammock, they're like jumping from chair to chair. How did I deal with that stigma? That was something that was really, really affecting me for a very long time. But I realized the way to combat that. The more exposure to society, the more exposure to how things are supposed to be, the better it was. So they saw other children sitting down. Every time I went anywhere, I took them with me. Even when I had my own doctor's appointment, I took them with me. I just exposed to life. So that was how I dealt with that stigma. And the misunderstanding in the workplace never happened for me. But I'll talk about my Nigerian experience when I get to that point. Then societal pressures. Did I feel like I was being judged and unsupported by others? In America, I didn't feel like I was being judged. But there were incidences when some people would actually look at me strangely, like, why can't you control your children? You know? So no matter where you are in the world, some people will still judge you, but it's how you feel about yourself that matters. Anybody can judge anybody. For me, that is their business. They don't know me. They're not in my shoes. I know me. So I feel better that I know I'm a good mother. I know I take care of my children's needs, so I did not let anybody's judgment affect or deter me. And that is one thing we need to accept as Nigerians, that you should never have to worry about what other people think. They're not feeding you. They're not clothing you. They're not feeding your children. So their own judgment is out of their own ignorance. What you can do is use it as a moment to educate them about what it is when a child has special needs. Okay, so what strategies do I use to manage stress, avoid burnout, and stay motivated in both my personal and professional life? Excellent question. It is extremely important that we balance these roles, okay? We need to be flexible. We need to be determined, and we need to have support. Number one thing I do is my time management. Mr. Sampson knows my schedule is by minutes. 5 minutes before the hour, another meeting coming up. So you have to learn how to manage. You have to be very self-aware. For example, I'm here. It's already like 4 p.m. in Nigeria, right? People send me messages of the night. I used to wake up just to messages in the middle of the night. And these things were like just affecting my sleep. Once I wake up at 2, I'm unable to go back to sleep. I had to now say, wait a minute. If I wake up to use the restroom, I scan through my phone. I don't open my WhatsApp. I just scan through the notification. Is there any important thing here? If I go through the notification and I see who the people notifying me were, if there's nothing that seems like urgent, I go back to sleep. I don't read the messages until I wake up. Because if I don't get that sleep, it's going to affect me the next day. So time management is extremely important. And I have to have a balance between my work life and my home life. When I'm at work, I do not answer my calls because I'm focused on the students in my classroom. As a professional, you should not let your personal life interfere. But I know that as a parent, you may have phone calls from your children, emergency, maybe the school needs to meet you. So I make sure that I have that on a special ringtone. So when that notification comes in, I answer that. But anyone else, I don't deal with it until my break time or my lunch time. I have to be selfish that way because that's how I can grow professionally. Any administrator, the superintendent, anybody can walk into my classroom at any given day. I'm always working. They will never find me on the phone. Even the principal was calling me sometimes. She said, Dr. Williams, I've been trying to reach you. I've been calling you. Your phone in your class doesn't work. I said, then you have to come to my classroom because I don't answer my calls. And that gives tremendous respect when you do things like that, okay? So you have to do that. And then when I have therapy for my children, I schedule my therapies right after school. If anybody calls me when they are in therapy, I don't answer because my focus is on my children. After I'm done with my children, then I can take other phone calls. So you have to do the same. Nobody's going to arrest you for prioritizing your life and your family ahead of them. So you have to do that. How do I balance work responsibilities and family commitments? My number one commitment is me. You have to realize that you are number one. Your husband and your children, they're number two. Because without number one, there cannot be a number two, right?
Exactly.
If there is no number one, they become number one. That means you are no more. So you have to take care of you. If you don't take care of you, you cannot take care of them. All right? So I have to make sure that I get my physical every year. I have to make sure that I do my blood tests. I have to make sure that I prevent disease. I have to make sure I prevent any kind of illness. I have to take preventative cautions about my health. That part of it is being mindful, practice mindfulness. Part of it is going to the gym, exercising. Part of it is eating well to make sure that what I eat, what I put into my body will be things that will not get me sick. If I get sick, I cannot take care of my children. And as I'm taking care of myself well, guess what? I'm also taking care of my family well because we're all following the same healthy diet. How do I navigate the education system? In America, there is no issue with navigating. Education is guaranteed up to the age of 22. And after age 22, there are services that provide vocational training or social services, adult day programs for them. But in Nigeria, it's a completely different story. So we lived in Nigeria for 13 years. How did I navigate that? Because I pulled them out of school when they were in their final year of high school. We got to Nigeria, I could not find anything for my kids, any school for my kids. The schools that were available at that time that service children with special needs were not appropriate for my kids because those were more severe disorders. So what did I do? I was in FCT. I went to the FCT technical and vocational school that they had. I spoke to the director. I have these children. They are at home. They're doing nothing. I hired personal teachers to come to the house to work with them. But these teachers don't know how to manage them. And they're not really teaching them well. So what can I do? You have to advocate for your children. You have to look for resources. She started a vocational training for children with special needs. Right then, just by me going to her to cry out to her, she was able to get that started. But again, it wasn't the perfect situation. Because it wasn't the perfect situation, I decided that I would probably look into doing the same thing. But I didn't really look into it until I gave a speech I was invited by EK Foundation for Autism to speak at an autism awareness event at National Hospital. So after speaking about disabilities, about intervention and things like that, everybody just started calling me and coming to me. Please, can you help me with this? Please, can you help me with that? Do you have a school? Do you have that? So it was as a result of that that I started my school in Nigeria. So I was able, I'm not saying go and start a school. What I'm saying is advocate the system. Find out which school has special needs program. If they don't have special needs program, meet the principal. Go with your own resources. So these are things you can do to help the children. How can I get my child into your school? How can you help me? Cry out. Talk to their pediatrician. Talk to their neurologist. Seek, and seek. And if they cannot, then you've got work to do. You have to now start doing research. You know, the world is a global place now. Even education is all over the world now. Anybody can have access. You can have access to curriculum. So you can start working with your own child if you don't have that resource to help you. So are there systems or routines that have developed that made managing both roles easier? Absolutely. Okay. First of all, family and friends. I am I consider myself blessed with my late husband's family because they are my right hand and my left hand. My own family, they are my right hand and my left hand. Everybody around me, they're very, very supportive. If I sneeze, before I finish sneezing, my in-laws, when I was in Nigeria, would have called a doctor to say, my sister-in-law is sneezing. What can you do for her? They are so supportive. When I need a break, I take my children to them. They take care of them. In Nigeria, we're lucky that we can have house help to come and help us. Here, some people are not that privileged to afford to have house help. So you have to lean on your family members who can come. It's not even about taking care of your children. It's just somebody you can talk to when you are stressed. I will listen. Talking sometimes help. And then I do delegate. I do say, hey, I call my sister-in-law. I'm traveling, please. Could I bring my children to you for the day? My brother-in-law, please, I can't take my children to their appointments today. Can you help me? So I lean on these resources. And I have wonderful friends. I have friends that would come and pick up my children, take them to the movies, take them to the beach, take them out to eat. You've got to have good quality. I don't have many friends. I can count my quality friends on one hand, but they are quality friends. I know thousands of people, but they're not my friends. So you need to identify who your real friends are, because your real friends will give you that respite when you need it. They'll come and help you out. Then you have to build a support groups around you. There's so many WhatsApp groups now. So many organizations, so many foundations where you can leverage on each other's strengths, where you can join and talk about your frustrations. And you have people who are going through similar situations who can advise you. Go online. Facebook has support group. Is it autism support? Is it Down syndrome support? Whatever support it is, it's online. So resources are there to help you. Don't be scared. Don't be afraid. If you don't air out your dirty laundry, it will never get clean. If you don't talk about your situation, you'll never know how to help. So you got to be honest with yourself. You cannot hide it. You have to be honest because you never know how many other people are going through the same thing. What they've done to help them may just help you. So you got to be open. Okay? All these communities and network with other parents, even if it's PTA at school. Okay, you don't know, some families may have other children. Maybe they don't go to your child's school. Maybe they go to other different schools, but they are familiar with the situation. So you got to leverage on the network and talk to these people. Then at work, you have to find an ally at work. You have to have somebody you trust, somebody you can talk to. So it's like, okay, maybe you need to take time or somebody that can step in for you. You have to have a, you have to be able to have, you have to have an open relationship with your employer, with the human resource manager. Let them know your situation. So if you have to go, maybe there's an emergency or you have to go to pick up your child from school, you don't get fired. You understand? They have to be there to support you. Until you are open with them, they won't know what your situation is. They won't know what you're going through. Communicate your needs ahead of time. When I came back to the US, maybe because of my professionalism, because of my references, initially I had about 16 job offers. 16. People are like, Amis, how could you have 16 job offers? I'm still receiving job offers today. I'm turning offers down. Some are even telling me, we'll give you more. We'll give you incentives to come and join us. Because people read about you online. And when they feel like you fit that category, they will bring you along to their organization. So what I'm saying is be good at what you do, communicate your needs ahead of time with your employer. When I took this job, I told them, I have these two children. If they have an emergency, I have to go. So we'll need somebody to cover me. 2 weeks in the year, I must go to Nigeria. Those are my requests. And they were like, okay, we'll take it. So now I'm free to go to Nigeria in November without feeling like I'm going to get fired. You have to communicate this ahead of time when you get a job. If that job is not going to give you that, if the company is not going to give you that job because of your situation, then that's not the job for you. Because eventually you will need to go and take care of your children. And when you do go, they will fire you. So you need to make that decision, to be honest and open in the beginning. Know that your employer needs to know that your family is your priority, and they will respect you for that. Then I've talked about time management. And how do I do? Everybody has a cell phone. You go to your calendar. You put your schedules on your calendar, okay? If I open my calendar, you'll see my schedule. What I'm doing today is on my calendar. What I'm doing tomorrow is on my calendar. Everything is there. So have your calendar to help you manage your time. Okay, what do you need to do? We go to the market, we make a list. Because when I get to the market, I don't want to be buying a million things that I don't need. So use time blocking, use your calendar, outsource, get help when you need it. Sometimes I order things online because I don't have time to go to the store. Okay, group your tasks together and set boundaries. You need to have boundaries with your children as well. For me, I go to bed at 8:30. Nobody comes to my room at 8:30. Between 8 and 8:30, I'm in my room by 8:30. You don't come and disturb me because I am going to sleep. And I turn my ringer off and I go to bed because sleep is extremely important for me, okay? So set realistic goals. What are you trying to achieve with your career within the short and the long term? And make plans as to how to get there. Anytime you achieve anything little, everybody, if you follow me, Anything I post it online. For me, it's self-affirmation. It's knowing that I'm celebrating my achievement. And guess what? It makes me feel good. It builds my self-esteem. I told you, it's not like I'm trying to blow my own horn, but it's a way to help me feel grounded, to help me know that I'm doing the right thing. So that helps me, and you should do the same. If somebody say, oh, you are just gloating, well, that's their business. As long as you feel good about yourself, about what you do, that is what matters. Okay. So as a professional, I'm always taking classes. To be good at what you are, take professional development courses. It's not about earning degrees, it's about earning knowledge. And that knowledge will help you. Any course is online. Some are free, some you pay for. But it's about career growth, about being better than somebody else. Okay? Attend workshops, attend webinars, network, join professional organizations. I belong to so many. I belong to the Association of Educational Therapists. I belong to International Board of International Dyslexia Association. I belong to Learning Disability, to Children Exceptional Services. Why? Because every little network I join, I learned something from. So join professional networks. Utilize this. LinkedIn is good for connecting with people. LinkedIn is I don't work for LinkedIn, but it's been a fantastic resource for me as an educator, as a coordinator, everything I do. I really go on LinkedIn. There are groups on LinkedIn that you can also join. There are people that you can connect with on LinkedIn that will give you professional advice, usually for free. So network, network, network. Iron sharpen iron. Build your skills. Make sure that you are able to communicate your needs. Make sure you have the skills to problem solve. As you're problem solving at home, trust me, that problem solving ability transfers to the workplace. And if nobody will hire you, if you're having a challenge getting a job, become your own boss, become an entrepreneur. Start something. Anybody can start a business. Believe you me, a lot of people who are entrepreneurs, they are achieving more, making more money than some of us who are professionals and earning salaries. Sometimes I was like, I'm doing the wrong thing. I should work for myself so I can make more money. Because that taxi driver, that Uber driver who's making $2,000 a week or charging $300,000 a month to one client, imagine if she has 4 clients. She's making more money than me, that I'm in the classroom. So become an entrepreneur. If getting a job is not, it's not your forte, or if you have a problem getting a job, identify something you're good at and develop the skills and start a business. So these are really, really, really the key thing. Self-care. As I said, you are number 1. You've got to prioritize your physical health, be seen, get your annual checkup. Ignorance is not bliss. Just because you haven't gone to the doctor hasn't told you have high blood pressure, you have diabetes, doesn't mean you don't have it. So you need to take care of yourself. Make sure that they do all the physical checkup so that if you do have anything, they give you medication or lifestyle change to manage it so that you can be in a better place. Your mental health, it can be so frustrating, and sometimes it can even be depressing when you deal with some of the situations of taking care of children with special needs. But you got to be open. You got to take care of your mental health. The best way for me to take care of my mental health is through mindfulness. What is mindfulness? I'll tell you more about mindfulness later. And meditation is part of mindfulness. Yoga is part of mindfulness. Going to exercise my physical body is part of mindfulness. Hanging out with my friends once a month is mindfulness. Taking that time off to go on my own, maybe to the library, to read a book, to even have a bath or go in the jacuzzi, that is mindfulness, okay? You got to take care of you, okay? So you have to practice mindfulness, and that is your key for stress management. I'm going to give you a couple of strategies called evening, and then of course you can practice yoga. And I said celebrate small wins. When you need help, ask for help. Use technology to help your children. Use technology to help you. Go online. Is it that your child cannot speak? Get a speech to text. Get any kind of technology that would help your child. Because the more you help your child, the more you are helping you. And look for success stories. Learn from other people what they've done. And how can you find out? Join groups. When you join a group, they're able to share ideas with you. They're able to tell you their success stories. And this eventually will transfer to your own success story. Use apps to help you manage your life. That's the beauty of the smartphone. For me, sometimes when I need mindfulness, I go on my mindfulness app and I listen to meditation and messages. I listen to positive messages, and that helps me. What role has your family, friend, or community played? I've already talked about that. How do you advocate for your needs as a parent? I've already talked about that. Have you experienced any challenges or support? I've already talked about that. However, you need to now think about your own self, because raising a child with special needs has tremendous, tremendous impact on you, your physical health, your mental health, and on your finances. It's important I talk about finances for you, because you will not live forever. When you are gone, how are people going to help you with your family? So you got to do these things. If you don't do anything, you must have a will. Have a will that what you own goes to your children, your family, whoever you want it to go to. Otherwise, those in-laws will take it away. Oh, I'm just telling you from experience. Have an irrevocable living trust. Your will, your living trust should be the beneficiary of your will. That living trust, your children should be the beneficiary of your trust. You can also set up a special needs trust for your children. If you don't know what these are, research them, please. You must have a living trust. If you don't have that living trust, your property goes into probate. It goes to the government. It's taken over by other people that did not see you suffer to have that property, or even the account in your bank. Make sure it's linked to your living trust. You must have that life insurance plan, because that's what will take care of your children's needs once you are gone. Also, some of us sometimes we don't consider our own healthcare plan. You may have a basic health insurance, but if you don't have the long-term healthcare, some people who have dementia by the age of 80, or Alzheimer's, or maybe even cancer, God forbid, without a long-term healthcare plan, the insurance will not cover that. So you need to think about that. Have a disability insurance to protect you. Anything can happen to you. That disability insurance will help you at the end of the day. And all these things are available even in Nigeria. You just got to do your homework and find a credible company to do this with, okay? Do I use government support? Absolutely. My children were diagnosed by the Social Security Administration for having special needs. Social Security Administration gives them 100% insurance. So they have medical insurance for the rest of their lives. They get a stipend from government to help them with some of their needs. They get stipend from government to help buy food. Am I embarrassed about that? Absolutely not. They need it. They're their own individual people. My own salary is supposed to be for me, and government help to offset what I spend on them by giving them some of these services. Some people may say, oh, you are accepting welfare. So what if I accept welfare? The welfare is not for me. The welfare is for my children. And that's the way you need to think about it. Your children's well-being. How do you ensure you receive the best possible care? You have to be proactive. You have to be friends with your teachers, with your children's teachers. You have to appreciate them. You cannot go and be picking a fight. If you pick a fight with a teacher, guess what? That teacher is going to take it out on your child. That teacher is not going to do the best that that teacher can do for your child. So you have to collaborate with all the service providers. Be them. What are they advising you to do? Do it. And be appreciative of the efforts they put in care of your children. What are some of the biggest hurdles I faced in securing childcare, educational resources? You know, it's kind of hard to trust anybody these days, but there are things you can put in place. Some people put cameras in their homes to make sure that, you know, the service or the child caregiver is not abusing their children. Why not? It doesn't cost that much. You can put a camera to just watch what happens. But then you also have to be able to find quality help. Find people through referral, not just take anybody off the streets. And even if it's somebody off the street, you need to check out their referrals. Make sure you check them out really well before you accept them into your homes. And if it's a section of the classroom, go and visit the class. Ask to be a volunteer in the classroom so that you can help out and you see firsthand what happens. How do you take time off? Well, on Sunday when I was in church, I was like, this pastor is speaking to me. Our sermon was, do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, and with thanks, present your request to God. And the God of all that transcends all understandings will guide you and put your mind, you have to put your mind in Christ. For me, that's the number one thing that gives me peace. Knowing that I have God, knowing that when I have a challenge, I cry to him. God doesn't say, give me your challenges and go and relax. God says, give me your challenges and look for what I've already provided for you with the people around you, with the resources around you to seek that support that you need. We cannot rely on prayers and say, we're just going to pray and that's it. No, you have to pray and do the work. Okay, the pastor says, as you cry out to God, add what it is that you're thankful for. Always be thankful of your situation. As I tell you, my children are the best things that's ever happened to me. They ground me. They made me a better person. Without my children, I will not be the kind of person that I am today. Without my children, I will not be receiving accolades. Without my children, I will not be doing anything to be receiving awards. I'll just be leading a glamorous, selfish life. So my children have added value to my life. So I am very thankful for my children. And as I practice mindfulness, mindfulness is a form of social emotional well-being. It helps you where you practice this. It could be just meditation. It could be just listening to music. It could be just doing some physical activities like yoga that will help you in being aware of your own emotions. It helps you to reduce stress, to improve your focus, to have empathy for others, especially for your children and for your significant other. It helps to build your resiliency so that you can cope better with situations. It helps you to better communicate because you take a moment, you take a deep breath before you speak. You think before you speak. When you think before you speak, you communicate better. It helps to reduce your reaction. Sometimes you get angry, and somebody says something, you respond angrily. If you are mindful of the moment that take a deep breath, it helps for you to help you regulate how you react to people. And we teach children this, especially children with special needs, to help them regulate their emotions so they're not as hyper or as reactive. It gives you greater self-confidence, it makes you relax, and it increases your self-advocacy. So if you want to know strategies for mindfulness, Google mindfulness, and you'll see a lot of websites that will give you mindful practices. Another one is evening. Evening is a neuroscience perspective, it's a neuroscience terminology, and it's from the neuroscience perspective that we can help reduce our own stress by doing a couple of things, right? And increase that serotonin production in our brain. What is that? Rub the palm of your hand slowly together as if you are washing your hands. Just meditate as you are rubbing your hands or hug yourself. This is one strategy that I use in cognitive development. I tell my children, hug yourself and tap your fingers. It helps your memory. But for your mindfulness, rub your shoulders and rub your arms to your elbow. It helps to keep you calm. Practice this 15 minutes a day, every opportunity you get to help. And as you are doing this, or you are breathing, oxygen is going into your brains. As oxygen goes into your brains, energy is going into your brains. Your brain is working better. Your brain is more relaxed. Give yourself that hug, okay? Place your fingertips. A lot of Chinese medicine, they do this. Place your fingertips on your forehead and just calmly rub it down to your chin. And as you are doing this, it's calming you. And trust me, this is scientific evidence that shows that when you do this, it really helps to keep you grounded. It really helps for you to be more tolerant. It really helps to reduce your stress. And these are the most powerful tools that I use that can also help you. Some people practice yoga. Yoga is a practice for mindfulness. Okay. When you go to a yoga class, you also build a community with others who are in that yoga class. You have become a support for one another. You make friends. And it also gives you all these benefits for self-care, for stress reduction, and you sleep better. If you sleep better, you're a better person. I guarantee you that. So, my time is almost up. In what ways have you grown? I've already told you that. My children have been a blessing to me. It's because of them I am who I am today. If not for them, I would actually probably be a nobody. I've given you the advice based on what I practice. If you do the same thing, it will help you, okay? How can society, employers, and communities better support parents in this situation? Education, 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 advocacy, 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 and not be afraid to ask, and not be afraid to be vulnerable, okay? By being vulnerable means tell them your situation, and be proactive. If anybody is being judgmental, empower them by giving them that education about what it is to have a special needs and what the demands are for the special needs. You're not complaining. Don't go to them complaining. Just tell them factually, this is my life, this is my situation, this is what I'm doing about it, and this is how you can support me. And I be a better employee or be a better member of your church, whatever it is, whatever the situation is, just be there to advocate. Advocacy is how we increase awareness by what Mr. Sampson is doing, putting together webinars, by us putting together information webinars to tell people about our children, about our own self, what we need for government or for the other institutions that we're part of, what we need them to do to help support us. But first, they must have that understanding, and that understanding is by us educating them, okay? So parents, I think the best thing you can do for yourself is know that your children is not your fault. Accept that. You've done nothing wrong. Their situation is not their fault. They have done nothing wrong. So you got to own up, buckle your belt, and be that fighter for your child, and be that fighter for your life. Make sure you grow spiritually, you grow physically, you are healthy, and you grow professionally. The better you are at home, the better you'll be at work. The better you are at work, the better you'll be at home. It's iron sharpens iron. One works with the other. So help each other. You find a balance. Take care of you. The number one thing you need to get from me today is take care of you. You have to take care of you. If you don't take care of you, you cannot take care of your family. Achieve career success while caring for your children by doing all those things I've advised you to do. Professional development, join professional organizations, utilize support system, prioritize your self-care. Reflect on your own journey right now. What have you done? What kind of a parent have you been? What kind of a career person have you been? What career do you have? Are you in the right career? Is it a square peg in a square hole? Or is it a square peg in a round hole? If not, get yourself in the ideal situation. If you have to be an entrepreneur, be an entrepreneur. All right? And that is it. These are my fully grown children now. You saw them in the picture in the beginning, and this is who they are now. So, question and answers, and I hope I've spoken to somebody today.
Wow, thank you, Dr. B. I'm so happy. That was very good. I don't know if anybody had any question for Dr. Badewa, because of the Badewas, we soon be going for another meeting. So if you have any question, the floor is open for you now. So, Dr. Badewa, I don't know if, you're talking about uh, government support in America. Now, briefly, can you talk about government support in Nigeria? Is there any kind of support in Nigeria? Because most of our listeners are from Nigeria. So,
well, what government has done really is to have that national hospital for anybody to be able to take their children to. I think the fee at national hospitals or general hospitals are not as expensive as going to a private hospital. That is a form of government support. So we need to take advantage of it. Make sure you go, take your children to be seen, even you yourself to be seen. So that is one. Education-wise, they have some special needs schools. They may not be the type of school you want for your child, but at least investigate. They do have some. And apparently, there's supposed to be inclusive education. So check those public school systems to see if they do have inclusive education, if your child fits into that. Beyond that, the only other thing that government has done is to put the Anti-Discrimination Act in place. But how effective that is being upheld, I don't know. I don't know how they're, maintaining that. I don't know how they're holding people accountable for that. What I do know is there are many, many NGOs that are doing things to support families and children with special needs. So you may want to research what those NGOs are so that you can get support from them as well. And then don't rely on anybody, really. As I said, go online, do your research. And then through that research, you'll be able to identify who or what services can benefit you and your children.
All right, I think there's a question in the chat box, if you can see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to say a big thank you. Please do I still use this method for your Yes. Hyperactivity is a special need. It may not be an intellectual disability, but it is a developmental disability because there's something in that child's brain that's making that child active, and that is developmentally minded. If that child with developmental, that ADHD or hyperactivity is not, you can practice mindfulness with that child. It helps with a lot of self-regulation, okay? If you don't take care of that child dietary-wise, physically-wise, physical exercise-wise, self-regulation-wise, and also behavior management-wise, that child will not sit still to learn. And at the end of the day, the child may now have an intellectual disability problem. Not because the child has intellectual disability, but just because the child is not able to sit still to learn. You understand? So you need to practice this with that child as well. Every little child, I think every child really, because I go into some other classes because I consult and I see children jumping all over the place, even though they're not identified as having special needs. I tell the teacher, you've got to do mindfulness every day, especially after they come back from lunch. Let them take 5 minutes to relax their brains and breathe. The more they breathe, the better they'll be, the better students they'll be, and the better they'll learn. So yes, you can practice it. I now have to go. My other meeting
All
is
right,
starting.
before you go, I just want to ask you, is it possible for us to, me to give out your information to people that
Yes,
want to
please.
contact you? Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, please. Yeah.
All right. Thanks everybody
All
for
right.
joining us. And
Thank you.
this recording will be posted in our YouTube link. So if you're one of us there, you can get a recording today or tomorrow to be done. So you can listen to it and also share with your friends. So I posted the YouTube link is in the chat box there. So
All right. Bye, everyone.
thank you, Dr. Badawa, and
Bye.
goodbye to everybody.